Hello. Welcome to another episode of Beardy's News Roundup. Joining me in my little studio this evening is Siforius. Say hello, Siforius. Oh. Try that again.
Oh, hola.
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 I missed the click to unmute you.
The click. Yeah, okay. It's all good.
You know me and the old muting issues.
It's fine. Tech issues. Streamers know them.
Yeah. We don't know her. Oh, Llama's here. Hi, Llama. Nice to see you.
Hello, Llama.
Right, it is Friday the 12th of February 2021 and we've got some news stories to you. As you know by now, each and every Friday I get together with one of the guys from the Gaymers Assemble hosts and we talk about the news. Been trawling the internet all week to get all those juicy little tidbits to read through and give back to you so you can digest them and understand them in a Beardy Gaymer way. I also talk a lot of shit, so...
A lot of tea to spill.
Yeah, there is a lot today. So we have got 8 things, little nuggets of topical loveliness to talk about this evening. We'll just get straight into it. Let's start off with story number 1. Wake up, samurai. The auction has started. Well. We've had 1 week where it was pretty quiet on the Cyberpunk front, but it's back to the bad news for CD Projekt Red. And we're heading over to Liana Rupert, over at Gamer Informers, going to give us the tea. So after issuing a statement earlier this week, in which CD Projekt announced that it suffered a cipher attack that consisted of source code for Gwent, The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 being stolen, the hackers have left a note demanding that the company meets their demands or it will sell or release the data and leak the documents that they've grabbed to gaming journalists. Yeah. CD Projekt has said, well, hey, we ain't going to deal with this, so they refused to give in to the demands. So an auction did begin, and it has completed now. So apparently, the auction has been successful under the conditions that the buyer does not distribute or sell the code any further. The publisher is also in talks with the Polish authorities and the Personal Data Protection Office as part of an ongoing investigation into the attack. There was also some other content that was taken, but we're not too sure what the details of that information was. Apart from the fact that CD Projekt has stated that to the best of their knowledge, no player data or user information has been taken. But at this time, the information is yet to be leaked into the public domain. Siffy. Oh dear.
I'm not surprised. I'm just, at this point, CD Projekt Red is not doing so hot. At all. And I wouldn't be surprised if next they're gonna try to take away the data of players at some point, hackers, for being mad because of the game's quality during launch.
I just think, like, in this day and age, it's so difficult for these companies to actually keep their servers secure because hackers are getting smarter and smarter every day, and we're seeing so many, like. Over this last year, we've had Capcom, we've had these guys, we've had a couple of other companies that have been hacked into. Problem is, we're all in a national lockdown pandemic situation, so these hackers are just sat there with nothing to do 24 hours a day, so they're finding easier ways to break into these secure file servers. I just don't know why they don't keep some of this stuff offline, like in a place that's not easy to get into. I don't know. I'm not an IT person. Maybe I'm talking out my ass a little bit.
I'm not much of an IT person, but I don't know. It's just easier to do it that way. But also, if it's like really important information, you should not keep that where people can actually obtain it.
Yeah, especially when it comes down to things like your source code. I mean, this is the thing that they use to create their games. Like, I would have thought that would have been maybe not kept on like a server that's easily got at in an online situation. Like, I don't know, like a closed internal server or something.
Well, they got them, and it's just at this point, CD Projekt Red is just getting kicked.
On the floor. They're putting out fires left, right, and center, really, aren't they? We've got the dumpster fire that is 2077. You know, there was supposed to be a major patch released in January and February, and as far as I'm aware, the January major patch didn't actually land. We got a hot fix, but I don't think we got like a major patch. And it also seems like every time they put out a major patch, another issue happens. So like the latest patch they put out, there was like a game breaking bug in there as well, like to do with the save files that could corrupt your save file or something.
Yeah.
And then they had to go and release another thing and just put a statement out basically saying like, if you follow these steps then it shouldn't happen and we're working on fixing it.
Even Gwent, like Gwent didn't last that long from what I remember. It didn't do very well at the beginning when it released, and then it's still, I don't think it's doing that well right now, at least.
I'm pretty sure the last I heard of it, they were shutting down Gwent. I'll double check now.
I'm pretty sure that's what. Yeah, they're like shutting it down. And Witcher 3, I think, also had issues at launch. I think not as bad as 2077, but still had issues and bugs. From what I remember.
So they've closed the console versions of Gwent. You can only get it on PC and mobile now. But I always felt like with Gwent, it was one of those games where nobody asked for it. Like I know people really enjoyed Gwent when playing the Witcher games, but I don't know of a in-game mini game that's been turned into a standalone release that's actually done well for itself. Can't think of anything like that.
I can't think of any either right now, other than nothing.
No, I don't know. I mean, on the side note, yes, they've had some really tough times with their game releases and development cycles, and the crunch culture that they've got going on over there, and the setbacks left, right, and center. But if this attack is based on all of that, and that's the reason why they've done it, then shame on the people for doing it. Shame on them for doing it anyway, but like doing something like this isn't proving a point to CD Projekt and its practices in creating video games or anything like that. It's mute. You're just affecting people that actually work there and are trying to do their jobs and everything else, because to some extent I would imagine they're going to have to maybe rework their code so that it's different now to what has been now sold on.
That too. And crunch culture in general is an issue in a lot of video game companies, especially the AAA video game companies. They tend to have worse crunch than, like, say, indie companies.
I'd imagine if they do need to make these tweaks to the code, then like that's going to lead to them crunching even more, because they're going to have to try and do it in a quick space of time.
Quick space of time. Try to balance money as well, because it's going to be probably pretty costly, and they're already losing investments too. So is it worth it? I don't know.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think it's worth it.
No. I also worry that, you say there with money and stuff, all the issues around this game, investors suing left, right, and center, all the media backlash, I know they sold everything to recoup their costs in making the game within the first week or whatever it was, something crazy. But is this gonna, something like this, that all the bad press, everything else piling on top of, is it gonna lead to the closure of CD Projekt Red? Because I don't think it deserves that.
I don't think it will.
No.
I think if they do another title and it does just as bad as this one, it probably won't. People probably won't trust in buying their games on launch, more than likely.
Do you think when they announce like The Witcher 4 or whatever the next project that they've got going, do you think that faith was been restored enough for people to be like, okay, well, let's give them another chance?
No, maybe not. Maybe not everyone. Maybe some people will, be like, oh, but they might bring it back, or like do just as good as Witcher 3, where they did have issues at the beginning, but they improved it tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I remember of Witcher 3's launch, there was a few bugs and stuff in there, but nothing to the scale that Cyberpunk suffered.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Like, across the internet and stuff, I've seen many a Twitter troll go, "No, well, games have got bugs all the time." Like, and I feel like a bug and what Cyberpunk was are two different things. A bug is like under a specific set of circumstances that they would not have been able to test otherwise. Something happens and it glitches out or whatever it is. But you've got, for me, the main issue here is their lack of clarity to the customer about the state of the PS4 and Xbox One versions of Cyberpunk, and then getting those versions and playing them and seeing how much of a horrendous state they were in. That's not a bug. That is fundamentally, on a build level, broken game. Like, it's not possible to run at any acceptable pace on those consoles.
No, and I'm pretty sure they probably tested. They knew what they were launching.
Knew.
They knew because a lot of game developers they'll test it out themselves as well. Not just other people, but them themselves will play it and try it out, and the fact that they just played along with it, kind of like garbage. Bad. That's garbage.
Well, I hope that their conversations with the Polish authorities and the Personal Data Protective Office does do something to find out these people and bring them to justice, because I think hacking into a system, stealing a source code and selling it on is very scumbaggy.
Oh yeah.
Because, and on the other side of things, like, I'm sat at home with an undisclosed amount of money ready to be able to buy a source code. What am I going to do with it? Because I can't really make a game with it, because as soon as I put a game out there, somebody's going to go, hey, this code's the same as fucking CD Projekt Red's code. Like, they're going to know. You can't just
they are gonna know.
Yeah, you can't just put like a like a pair of those glasses with like the fake nose and mustache thing on it. Like, just put that onto the source code and be like, okay, your name is now Frederick the source code, not CD Projekt Red the source.
CD Projekt Red.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, they're gonna know, and it would take a long time just to put in the work to try to change everything. That'll be too much work to do in such a short amount of time.
Well, move on to story number 2. This is the way to the exit. Gina Carano has been fired by Disney after recent comments on social media. We're going to IGN with Joseph Coop to give us the scoop. Known for playing Cara Dune, former rebel soldier and survivor of the Order and Destruction, Gina came under fire for comments made on Instagram. In a now deleted post, she compared being a modern-day Republican to being a Jewish in the Holocaust. Wow. She's also come under fire for insinuating voter fraud in the 2020 election and been very vocal about not wearing face coverings in public places while the world suffers a global pandemic. Seems that the power that be in the acting world have also had enough of her, and she's been fired not only from Lucasfilm's show, but also by a talent agency. But Lucasfilm did put out a statement saying, Gina Carano is no longer employed by Lucasfilm. There are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts disintegrating people based on their culture and religious identities are apparent and unacceptable. Adding into that bad news, like I said, the horrible Hollywood Reporter sources have told them that Disney was planning to give the actress a standalone series revolving around her character of Cara Dune, which has also been cancelled. And THR has reported that her agency has dropped her, and that the sources told them from the United Talented Agency that they'd been looking for a reason to fire her for quite a while, and this incident was the final straw. So, I'm gonna get my little box here, like open it up, because I feel like there's a lot to unpack from this. Llama says, in any job, if you make repeated public statements that are completely opposed to the values of your employer, then you won't be employed for long. Also, there's some absolute trash shit to say, and I'm glad she's gone.
Yes, she deserves. Like, what would you like?
So, I don't know if I've been living under a rock, but I didn't know that she was known for these kind of horrible statements.
I don't know.
Yeah, and when I read this that she'd been fired, I was like, holy shit, she's been fired? What the fuck is this all about? And I read into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that one line of comparing being a modern day Republican to being Jewish in the Holocaust.
Jewish in the Holocaust. Girl, what the fuck was you thinking?
Like, how could anybody in any sane fucking functional mindset go, I'm gonna like take my political beliefs and compare them to the genocide of a whole people in a war that took so many lives? Like, it is beyond fucking ridiculous that she'd even play with the notion of that idea.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. Yes, the political landscape in the States right now is a little bit spicy, like a little bit, on the edge here and there. You got Trump's impeachment hearings going on and everything else, and all the riots and stuff he incited. But fuck me, like, girl, why would you say something like this?
And then with the fake news of the voter fraud and the face coverings, face masks, that's what I was trying to say. Girl, like, are you a doctor?
Is she okay? She needs she needs to, like, somebody needs to sit her down with a nice cup of tea, just like have a little chat with her and just say, like, what happened? Like, who hurt you? To say stupid things like this.
To her is goodbye.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say, because, girl, no ma'am. That's not it.
I was talking to a friend about it, and they said, it's fucking Trump, like, him being in power and everything else, has made all these people come out with these ridiculous statements and say these stupid things and believe this stupid narrative that's been threaded through. To which I said, I don't think, let me get this all out before anyone starts attacking me and things. I don't necessarily think it is Trump's fault. I think Trump has allowed people to bring the views that they had to light. Like, I don't think Trump stood there saying these things, like brainwashing people into having these beliefs. I think that these are people that had these weird ass fucking beliefs in the first place, and Trump has enabled them to be able to, like, go, it's okay for me to say these stupid things now because we've got somebody else that's even more fucking stupid higher up in the world saying even worse things. What do you think to that?
Well, he did kind of, like, post on social media some stuff about it, but I feel like he's trying to cater to that audience, if that makes sense. Try to get their influence and incite something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Mama, she's trash.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say about that. I can't support anyone who's misogynistic, homophobic, xenophobic, everything. I can't with him.
It goes against everything we aspire to be as human beings.
Yeah.
to be that kind of person and to have those kind of views and everything else. And I just think it's really sad that I loved Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. I thought she was such a fucking badass, like, cool character. I loved her backstory. I loved this, like, the little tattoo with the tear that she had, like, as a survivor of the Alderaan destruction, like, which, can I just say, how fucking ironic is it that she played a character that survived, like, a mass genocide and then tried to fucking use that same analogy? Like,
yeah,
crazy. Anyway, so I am really sad to see the character go, but I'm so glad that these horrible fucking views and opinions have come to light and she's been cancelled for it.
She's been booted out the show, and or booted out maybe the industry too. Maybe some people won't hire her.
Well, it looks like it because her agency, United Talent Agency, has dropped her. So she's got no agency.
Nothing for her.
Nothing for her. She gets some crumbs.
Not even crumbs.
Not even crumbs. Cool. Let's move on to the next story then. Story number 3. Game of Joels. There's a little theme here. So, from the Mandalorian lows to the Mandalorian highs, Pedro Pascal has been cast as Joel for the HBO adaptation of The Last of Us. We're going to go to Bella Ramsey. Oh, no, wait. That's wrong. We're going to Kotaku with Alexandra Hall, who's going to give us all the details. Bella Ramsey, who's going to play Ellie, who was also in Game of Thrones. The Last of Us show was announced last March by HBO, and it's going to be following the plot of the first game. And the show has been worked on by TV alumni such as Caroline Strauss, who worked on Game of Thrones, Craig Mazin, who worked on Chernobyl, and of course the original game creator Druckmann. Very short little story there.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this. I don't know why people are hating that Bella Ramsey is playing Ellie. Like, I know she doesn't look like her, but she got the part for a reason, you know? And I feel like you should
I'm super excited. I had a very strange history with Last of Us, so I played it through. It was only last year that I actually finished playing the first Last of Us. I bought it originally when it first came out. I just couldn't get into it for whatever reason. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be. And then The Last of Us Part 2 was coming out, and all the hype of like the release and marketing and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna sit down and fucking actually play this game. It's such a good game, and I think it's perfect for a television adaptation because there's so many other stories going on in there that even if they made a Last of Us show setting that universe, you wouldn't necessarily need to have Joel and Ellie in there because there's all these other factions, things and characters going on and stuff. I think Pedro is a wonderful match for Joel. My only slight concern is that he keeps getting roles where, like, spoiler alert for The Last of Us Part 2, maybe like 10 seconds before I go into play the fifth.
I've played it, but I didn't finish it.
Alright, you'll have played enough of it for this not to be an issue. As long as you played more than 2 hours of it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's it. That's your spoiler warning. Get out of here. So Pedro keeps getting these roles where he ends up dying. So when he was in Game of Thrones, he was the from I want to say Meridian, but it wasn't Meridian, I don't think. But he fought the mountain and got his eyes fucking crushed in.
Yes.
And now he's got Joel, who in The Last of Us Part 2 gets his head beaten in with a fucking golf club. So why
did they say they're gonna keep the story for The Last of Us like exactly like the games, or is it gonna be like a prequel to the first game?
They've said it's following the events from the first game. And Neil Druckmann, who created the story for Last of Us and is the director over at Naughty Dog that's heading up all this kind of stuff. Prince Oberon, that's the one. Thanks, Llama. he's working with them to flesh out the script and everything else. So I'd imagine, I don't think it's going to be beat for beat the same as the game. It's obviously going to be changed for TV and make it a bit more digestible in that side of things, but I'd imagine the same beats are going to be there. So it's going to be, Joel with another character who's living his own life, everything else. He'll still go through what he went through, losing his daughter and everything else. They'll then move on to this contract that they have with the Fireflies to get Ellie out of that city and over to the main Firefly base, because she is obviously immune to the cordyceps virus. She's been bitten to transform, everything else, and it'll be that journey of those two heading across America trying to get to that thing. And the season 1 will more than likely end with Ellie getting to the hospital and Joel doing what Joel does, which is going to be cool. But I'm super excited for it. I think the people that are working it, Caroline and Craig, have you seen Chernobyl?
I see Chernobyl, yes.
Yeah, such a good HBO series. Obviously, Game of Thrones was amazing, and I feel like
for the most part, yeah,
I feel like with Game of Thrones, everything up until the final couple of seasons was really good. But when you look at it in terms of George R.R. Martin and his works, he's not even finished the last book yet. So I think Game of Thrones proved that with having source material, they can do something really good with it. And then when it kind of ran out of source material and they had to kind of make their own endings to it, that it kind of fell flat. Whereas something like this, where you've got a complete told story, I think they'll be able to do the same and create that magic of Last of Us with the Game of Thrones kind of thing and Chernobyl and
everything. Yeah, I think it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm excited. I can't wait to watch it. It'll be good. I'm sure of it.
When do you think we'll be seeing it on screens?
When? Ooh, I don't know. Probably. Did they barely start filming, or?
Yeah, well, they've only just cast these two characters, so
probably be a while then.
I'm gonna go with 20 years. And maybe the end of 2022.
I'll say 2023. Yeah.
Sweet. Right, let's move on to story number 4. Anthem next for the trash. EA is apparently making a decision this week whether or not it will pull the plug on the Anthem Next project. We're going over to Push Square with Robert Ramsey, who has some information. As we all remember, Anthem launched in 2019, and oof, was it a launch. Not for the right reasons, though. It struggled at launch to meet the expectations and retain its player base. The team over at BioWare took some time to sift through the feedback and announced in 2020 that they were going to overhaul the game. Several blog posts later, the devs have been heading up. The team have been talking about how they're going to change things into looting mechanics and the overall gameplay and everything else. And all seem to be good. Seems like they're trying to, recapture that Phoenix moment that some games have had in the last few years, like No Man's Sky and Final Fantasy Online. But it seems like Big Bad EA is going to come in this week and evaluate and make a decision on whether they think it's worth investing in or not. If they choose not, then they're going to scrap the project entirely. Like I said earlier, many a game has had a redemption story in the last generation. And I think they're going to be trying to make it with Anthem. Might not be the case. What do you reckon, Sif?
I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to do that well. I think it's long overdue. People aren't really waiting for it either. They're not super I know some people are buying it now because it's cheaper at the moment. I always see it on sale for $5.
It's always on sale.
Always on sale. It doesn't. I don't know. It wasn't money-wise investing on it. That's not gonna be. It might hurt them, especially if it does really bad. It's gonna hurt them tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna. Not gonna do. I don't think it's gonna happen.
The thing is with it, like, Anthem at its core could be a really good game, and I have played it a little bit. I played the beta. I haven't played it on release because the beta was so bad.
Yeah, same.
But it was one of those things where leading up to it, we could see the trucks were rolling in for the dumpster. And it came out and obviously didn't review very well and everything else. And it got to that end content. And we all know now, with like these live service games and stuff, if the content's just not there, people aren't going to stick around for it. They'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
There's very few games that I can think of, like Anthem, that have succeeded. Maybe something like Destiny 2. You know,
that's what people kept calling Anthem, a budget Destiny 2.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Destiny 2's managed to stick it out quite a while after its launch. And they've done several things to make it work, making it free to play, having the season pass. You know, in the end, to get their project to work, Bungie had to split from Activision and do all those things that they needed to do to keep their franchises alive. I just feel like BioWare's in a really weird position at the minute because they had Dragon Age Inquisition came out and did really well, but then they came out with Mass Effect Andromeda, and after the ending of Mass Effect 3, expectations were high. They were never going to be able to be met with that game, so ultimately that ended up flopping a little bit. They had the issues with bugs and everything else. So then all eyes moved to Anthem be the next new franchise, blah blah blah, rinse and repeat. They're in a shit situation. I'd like to see them revisit Anthem and make it what it should have been. I just don't think EA is the kind of company that's going to let people do that.
No, that's why they keep winning awards for being the
worst place to work.
Companies. Yeah. One of the worst companies.
Or they could completely surprise us and be like, "Hey, no, we're greenlighting it. It's fine," and then just do the money.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna do well, even if they remake it.
I think they
should have stopped.
Yeah.
And not have done anything and just made a new game.
I think they really should be focusing on whatever Mass Effect's next installment's going to be. They need to focus on whatever Dragon Age is going to be next. And maybe rather than trying to make Anthem work, just take those concepts and create a new game.
Yeah, the resources.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, I guess they're kind of wasting resources and using that on something that's dead.
Even if they want to keep Anthem alive, you know, creating a new installment for it, making it the game it was supposed to be, and then tacking on the original in there in some way, shape, or form, so that people can still experience what the first version should have been. I think they're wasting time and money and resources and stuff trying to get it to work in the first place, because it's not just when you look at something like No Man's Sky was missing features, but there was still something there about it, whereas with something like Anthem, you know, it's not really necessarily missing the features, it's missing that thing that makes people want to play it.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Speaking of strange things, moving on to story number 5. Hello, Switch Gaming Services. My name is Michelle. How can I guide your gaming choices today? Nintendo has launched a new service that will allow you to choose what game to play next. We're going over to Ari Notice over on Kotaku for some details. So the Switch has released a concierge service, which is a new service available to those who have recently purchased a Nintendo Switch. The service gives the new owners a one-on-one video conference session with a Nintendo rep, to which you can choose 6 different topics for a 30-minute session. The topics include Nintendo Switch 101, games, where to get started, games, what to play next, security and privacy, Nintendo account, and customization. From what Kotaku was talking about, it seems that the whole thing is very 101. So, for example, when you go to something like Games Getting Started, that section offers explanations as to what the difference between a cartridge game and a digital download is. Pretty sure is pretty self-explanatory, but maybe some people need that information. And then you go to something like the customization session, which covers things from their Nintendo-inspired Instagram feed. I feel like it's a cool thing. I just don't know if it's actually worth doing.
I think they should have done that from the, I guess, well, not even from, well, sooner. They should have done it sooner than now. I feel like, well, there is a rumor that they're releasing the Pro, or the quote unquote Pro, the Switch Pro. Do I see myself using that? No. But maybe someone who just picks up the Switch now may probably use it, but they can also go on Google.
I just feel like
look at articles as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's Nintendo probably would have been able to get more out of this if they'd gone to their little resource of their Nintendo representatives through like YouTube stuff. So one person who used to be part of their partner program, who isn't anymore, I don't think, was Beat 'em Ups Wood on YouTube, whatever. Really cool guy, does loads of Nintendo stuff. But I feel like someone like him or somebody well known within the Nintendo YouTube community putting a series of videos together, kind of going like, "Hey, here's the basics of your Nintendo Switch, blah blah blah. Here you go," and maybe putting something like that packaged in with the console, and kind of like maybe a little card saying, "Here's your next steps to enjoying Nintendo Switch experience. Go check out this website or this link, and it'll take you to a playlist of videos." So we're talking them through. I feel like games, what to play next in a 30-minute session. Like, how do you even get across what kind of things you're into, especially if you're a new Nintendo Switch owner and maybe not massively into games to begin with?
Yeah, it's probably gonna mention like maybe 1 or 2 games for each genre, more or less, but not probably the really popular ones.
Yeah.
Like all the Nintendo Switch exclusive ones, they're probably gonna mention in those videos.
And then the Nintendo customization. So I haven't actually looked at the Nintendo inspired Instagram now.
Nintendo customization, like customize your Switch? Is that what it is? Like your little case and stuff?
Yeah. It seems like it's, from what I can see on their Instagram feed, it's just it's not even like customization for Switch. It's like, Animal Crossing cookies and like, the different releases that they've had. There's a picture of a leaf with the Pikmin thing being cut out of it. Like,
so it's like Nintendo inspired products, more or less.
I feel like it's a cool concept. It just feels it's a very Nintendo thing to do. I don't think it's going to last very long.
No. Especially now. This should have been a little bit earlier, in my opinion.
And especially in the volume that they're selling the Switch, because it is selling gangbusters. Like month to month, it's difficult to order the Switch. I just feel like I know not everyone is going to use this service, but even if 20% of the thousands and thousands of units they're selling a day sign up to this to try and use it, like these sessions are not going to last.
Yeah, I don't know. it's good for people who are very, very new to gaming, or that want to get a Switch. Otherwise, it's meh.
It does feel like Nintendo just trying to push its own stuff.
Yeah.
Because you know that 90% of the... I mean, the Nintendo account and Nintendo security and privacy are very good things that should be detailed for people to kind of get their heads around. But in terms of Switch 101, games getting started, sitting there for 30 minutes, talk to somebody for them to go, do you know what the difference is between a cartridge and a digital download? Just seems like a waste of probably what they're going to talk about for 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah,
because they'll be like,
paid money for that.
Yeah, they'll be like, a Nintendo Switch cartridge is a custom-built device that stores our games and blah blah blah, and it allows for seamless loading times, and it'll just be fucking word salad. I don't know. Let's move on.
And a lot of people will probably just skip it. But yeah. Let's be out of here.
Let's get on to the next one. Nintendo, stop it. Stop doing shit things.
Gimmicky.
Story number 6. It's like The Sims, but for game creators. So Epic has just shown off its latest video, game creation tech, MetaHuman, a program that's designed to make character creation easier and less time-consuming than previous methods. Brian Sinclair over at GameIndustry.biz has got some little bits of details for us. So it's crazy just how much time and resources and money it takes to make just one character model for a game, especially when you're going to do something that's so sweet and photorealistic. Luckily for developers around the world, the guys and girls over at Epic have a solution for you. In a short video that shows off the oh-so-amazing tool they have created, Epic looks to be revolutionizing the way that we make the models by streamlining and simplifying the process. Tech expert Vladimir Malovsky said that MetaHuman Creator is less of a tool and more of a game even a child couldn't play. MetaHuman is a browser-based cloud solution for creating high-fidelity models ready to export and use as needed. So you can use them for motion capture, animations, effects. You can use them in video games, in TV shows, movies, all that kind of stuff. And from the video, it seems like they're going for like a professional version of The Sims. So you have the ability to customize almost every aspect of the model's feature. They have this crazy like hair system where you can look into the individual strands and like you can age things and all sorts of really cool stuff. But it is literally like a really advanced version of The Sims from what I took from it.
Yeah.
The tool itself, though, is going to be more of a live service, and they're going to be adding features and assets on a regular basis. At the moment, it does have some limitations because they're going for this kind of, as they say in the article, Last of Us Part 2 level of realism with the character models. They were explaining that the character models are really good, but they're not something that you could maybe put into a feature film and get away with just yet. And at the minute, there's no way to create different styles. So if you wanted to do like an anime character or something cel shaded or different kind of visual looks, you can't really go for that. It's pretty much this photorealistic expectation or nothing at all. And at the minute, you can't create some types of models, so things like children or really old people or teenagers or all that kind of stuff. It's literally just adults and that's it. Okay. But they're going to be adding those things as soon as they get them done. Sif,
I love this because of it is very expensive to make character models and all that stuff, especially if you're not familiar in making character models and stuff. It seems like it's going to be friendly towards different developers who are in different levels of I guess what would that be called? I guess that would be like character modeling. I think that would what it would be. But I think that's great, and I think that would help indie companies save money for sure. And I'm sure with every update they do, they'll add more and more to it.
I think it's super exciting. When you look at something like the Unreal Engine 5 that they showed off last year, I think it was, or the year before, I don't know, time feels like a flat circle. And the way that they're making high fidelity gaming production easier by making an engine that can take in these movie quality assets and put them into games and move things around and have ray tracing built into the engine and everything else, where it's literally like drag and drop. You create like a small asset and then just chuck it in there and you can do all these things. Couple that with this meta-human idea, I really feel like Epic is trying to make game development as easy as possible for people, to give people the tools so that they're not faced with the crunch that they get from being a AAA studio. They don't need to have that crunch anymore because they have this tool set for them to be able to make a game in less time. So what would be maybe 1,000 workman hours would now drop down to like,
less
50 hours or something. Like, because it's so much easier to create these things. And hopefully the flip side of that is that we get more games
that uses this. Yeah, I see a lot of indie companies probably using this, and especially like myself, I don't know how to do very good character models. That's not my forte at all. I'm probably gonna check it out once it is I guess available.
Yeah, it's one of those things as well, like when you look at making an RPG, you want to have a world that's alive, it's living, it's got people in there. You can make, if you can crack out character models within maybe 5 hours or something, like you could create a whole RPG backdrop of people a fraction of the time it would take before. And I just think it's cool that they're giving people the tools to be able to make these games quicker and easier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And yeah, they're really pushing towards helping game developers and content creators as well.
Yeah, because the other use for this is that you could export it and have like an avatar to look after your Twitch chat or something, or put in your YouTube videos or whatever it is. Like, it's just really cool stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Can't wait. I want to use it.
I want it now. Give me it now. I've just noticed Cold Soup's in the chat. Nice to see you, Cold Soup.
Hello, Cold Soup.
Let's go on to story number 7. Video games coming to a theatre near you. So as we all know, cinemas have been hit hard by the global COVID-19 pandemic, but CGV, a Korean's cinema operator, one of the largest ones in the country, has had the idea of to get bums on seats. We go to Ji Sung Lee, who has the details from the BBC of all places. As gamers, we have all fantasized about getting into a cinema and hooking up that sweet console of choice to the big screen and taking the experience in all of its glory. Well, in Korea, and some places in America, that reality has come true. For as little as $90, which I think is £65, you and up to 3 friends can rent an entire screen for 2 hours and game until your heart is content. CGV is trying to get some use out of its spaces, but it's really low price considering that theatre slot for those 2 hours could have potentially made them $1,200 for the same 2-hour slot. So they're just trying to find ways to make money at the minute because every stuff's just struggling. They launched the service at the start of the year, and so far I've seen 130 bookings, which made me laugh. I've not put it in here, but it just dawned on me on the top of my head. Apparently the majority of the bookings have come from between 20 and 30-year-old men and families, which I just think is really funny.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they've got 130 bookings so far, and the idea came from one of the owners when he was thinking how to best use the empty spaces given the situation we find ourselves in. He said that video games became a no-brainer idea because, like movies, they contain deep narrative stories, great graphics, and probably look and sound amazing in the context of a cinema room. Cinemas in the film industries have had a huge financial blow in the last 12 months, with the loss of earnings being estimated in the region of $30 billion. Oof. Malco in the States has offered a similar booking system, but for around $100, and you could add up to 20 people. Although, why you'd have 20 friends in a cinema room playing a video game doesn't make sense. Hey, you do you.
Party? I don't know.
I don't know. They've also, some of these groups and cinema places are doing takeaway food as well, so you can get popcorn and hot dogs and corn dogs and all that kind of stuff as well, which is cool.
That's expensive.
Yeah. But I'm kind of hoping that some other operators from around the world will see this idea and give it some thought, because I definitely, just to get myself out of the house for a couple of hours, would pay £65 to go and rent out a Cineworld suite and go play video games for a bit.
Arcades do that? I don't know, because I've never been to too many arcades. Do arcades do that or no?
I have no idea. We don't really have arcades in the UK.
Okay.
That I think of.
Because this reminds me, when I was younger, whenever I would go to Mexico, we would, my cousin and I, we would go to the, I guess it would be considered an arcade, sort of, and we would rent a TV, and but it would almost be like a room, but it's like there's like multiple TVs in the room, but we would rent the TV, we would get, I don't know, maybe like one hour would cost maybe like 20 pesos, which is equivalent to like $2 for an hour. And this is what it kind of reminds me of, sort of, that they're doing. I don't know if arcades do it here in the US. They might do it, but that's what it kind of reminds me of. It also kind of reminds me of there's a meme of like kids playing in their backyard. They have like a projector and it's playing Mario Kart, I think. I don't know if anyone knows that meme, where it just projects on the house, I think, the back of the house. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
I think it's a cool idea. Like, these cinema operators and stuff, through no fault of their own, are in really fucking dire financial states. Like, and I think it's a really cool idea that they could do that. I would like to see them maybe extend it to private viewings as well. Like, drop down $100 and you can go watch a private screening of a film or something. I don't know. You're seeing things like Wonder Woman 84 coming direct to digital to like rent from through Amazon or Apple or whatever it is third online digital video store is. Why not do this in a very safe COVID way and allow people to who that don't want to do those things and want to experience their cinema be able to do it?
Yeah, for me, I see why they're doing it, because they are suffering with money. But at the same time, people can do that at home, in their own homes, as well. But that's just my opinion about it. And then the food is very expensive whenever you go to movie theaters. It's like $25 or $20 for like popcorn.
I don't think it's that bad over here, but it's pretty expensive.
Oh, I guess it depends on which movie theater you go to, but some of them be selling them for $20 for just one big popcorn and one drink.
I think we have like combo deals. You get like a big drink, a hot dog, and a popcorn, and it's like £15 or something.
Oh, I think that's like $20. So you basically get like
3 things.
An extra. You get a hot dog. We just get a big popcorn and soda.
Well, I'm glad I'm not in the States for those prices.
I don't. That's why I'm kind of like the food delivery is kind of like, no.
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
I'd be interested to see what the prices are and whether they're keeping them at cinema prices or whether they've like put it down a little bit to make it more.
Oh, that too. Yeah, because I know some of them have like they're like restaurants almost. Like you have your chair and then you can like order from a menu and they'll bring it to you.
That's mental.
Like a dine-in
Like
theaters.
It's we don't have called. Anything like that in the UK.
Oh, it's I've been to one. I've been to one, and that was it.
Ours is literally like, although the coolest thing that we've had that I really enjoyed doing, is we used to have, we still have this cinema, but it was View Premiere, and you pay extra for it. So instead of paying like £10 for your ticket or whatever it was, I think it was like £15 or £20. It was like double the price of your thing. But you'd go up in this like private lift to this private thing, and you have access to a standalone counter that has like your hot dogs and your nachos, popcorn and everything else, bottles of pop and quality streets everywhere. And then on the other side of that, there's the door that would then take you through to the cinema room. When you go through the door, it's like a mezzanine balcony that's raised above the rest of the cinema. So you have like this whole area. And you're not the only person there. There's other people there, but they've got like sofas rather than like the cinema chairs. Yeah, they're like sofa chairs instead. You're literally just like in this cool like VIP area thing.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you can go once you paid it and stuff, you can go back into that room and take as much popcorn or drinks, snacks or whatever it is as you want. Like you don't have to pay any more for it.
Okay.
So like I used to love doing that. Can't wait to do that again.
That's actually pretty good because here they do have something similar like that, where you go to like a VIP area and it's like on the top level usually, but you do have to pay for, the food again, or you don't get free refills if that makes sense. Yeah.
Right, let's move on to our last story. There's no puns for this topic because it is a serious one. And the title of this story is Black Representation in Video Games Takes Less Effort, Not More, according to the AC Games founder Adam Campbell. So, not going to do any like regurgitation and stuff like I have for the other ones. Normally I would read through the articles or read through the news and stuff, reword it, and then give it out to you. But I think that this topic is really intriguing, and I'm going to say it's required reading. So once the video is up on YouTube, head over to gameindustry.biz to catch an interview from James Batchelor with Adam Campbell, because it's Black History Month at the minute, and the gaming industry is no stranger to the struggles to see diversity become more normalized in this sector. So I'm going to read just the opening sort of paragraph bit, and then we're going to have a little discussion about the things that are in this article. But please go and read this article because it's really, really well written, a really good interview. Definitely required reading. So, the title for this article is Why a Black Panther Moment is Not the Answer to the Game Industry's Diversity Problem. It has been well established that the game industry struggles with diversity on many fronts, whether it's behind the scenes or within the games themselves. Discussions as to how this can be improved have been going on for years, and it's clear that there's no quick fix to the issue. But Adam Campbell, co-founder of racial advocacy group POC in Play and newly formed developer studio AC Games, believes that boosting representation of minorities and unserved communities is simpler than some might think. He says, it actually takes more effort to make a game not diverse than it is to make it diverse, he observes. Usually when you find a piece of media, whether it's a game, film, or TV show, it doesn't have much diversity in terms of gender roles, race, sexuality, class, and so on. Usually people have shaped the product into their own image, or in a way that they want to see the world. They've excluded diversity from those products, and that might not always be done intentionally, but it's something that does tend to happen. Whether the discussion, and that's when we have the discussions as to why it's not being diverse. So he goes on to say that basically, when you go out into the world, you, go to the supermarket, for example. When you get into that supermarket, it's not just full of middle-aged, straight, cis white males. You have different communities, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different genders, different sexualities and stuff of people walking around in the world, going around their daily business. And that as game creators or media creators and stuff, either intentionally or unintentionally, we are editing out all of that stuff to create the acceptable version of a game or something like that. Which is why he's saying it's actually more effort, because you have to go and do those things rather than just taking the world as it is. And he goes on to say some other bits, like talking about how he thinks it's really interesting that you take games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider and all those kind of games, and it's sold as this like, hey, it's cool to go and explore these tombs and do all this stuff and everything else, but they're cis white people going into those places and plundering like ethnic minorities and taking their treasures and everything else, and it's celebrated rather than looking at it from the other aspect of these people that are just trying to live their lives, and these strangers are coming in and just destroying their culture and their heritage. What do you Exif?
Yeah, no, I agree with him, with everything he said. That not that many, like, the more I read this article, the more it made me realize, like, there's really not that many, like, games that go into different cultures or different, like, it's usually in the perspective of someone who's white for the most part. And yeah, a lot of indie games are more so diverse than AAA games, and I feel like AAA games should really. I know in the article he mentions that some people do it just just because they're not being genuine, I guess, and then some people do it because they want a change to happen.
Yeah,
and really we need to make a change to happen, because there's not really that like, from when I was in university studying game design, there's not a lot of minority representation or voices in the game development, nor do they have or get the same, I guess, opportunities. Kind of like that whole Blizzard thing that happened recently, where they wouldn't where they're like, it's such a hassle to do all this, hiring diverse people.
I think it's a really interesting conversation, just in general, but also like out of our conversation here. Obviously this month is Black History Month, and we wanted to do something for that. So at the minute we are running a series on our Instagram, which is celebrating characters that have
creators.
Characters that have added something and made something that's diverse, because there's a lot of characters out there that are the stereotypical, like, pigeonholed version of that ethnicity. But there's not that many characters that are actually true and authentic and give like such a really warm story. So we wanted to celebrate that side of things, but we're also going to be celebrating, people that are content creators, YouTubers, podcasters, all that kind of stuff, and then game developers and producers and stuff for their work and everything else. And I find it really interesting, as I deal with the most of the social media stuff, like going in and researching it and finding all these like tidbits and everything else, that there really isn't that many main protagonists, people of color, in a video game. It's a very small handful of games, which just feels really sad, especially when there is so much diversity out there and so many wonderful stories to tell and that could be told, that just have been sidelined for these predominantly white stories. One story that always sticks in my head is the story from Assassin's Creed 3. I don't know if you've played it, Sif, but it's Connor Kenway. He is son to Hathan Kenway and a uh, American Indian family tribe, and
Yep.
his point of view in that game is that his whole family and tribe have been destroyed by the oppression of the military and stuff within the American Civil War, and obviously the British colonies and stuff across and doing all that kind of stuff. And the whole story centers around him becoming an assassin because he wants to protect his people. And I just thought that's such a wonderful story because you don't see those tales being told. Yes, it's in the Assassin's Creed world and it's all just a bit weird and wonderful and everything else, but it's still a very powerful story to tell. But you don't get to see that many people like that in those roles, and I think it's a real shame. And when you do see them, they end up being, like I said, these stereotypical caricatures of
Stereotypes.
Yeah, of that
Yeah.
kind of background.
Yeah, for me, because I have my family's all from Mexico, and from what I've seen, and when I was reading this article, I'm like, what? How are the Mexican characters in video games? And then I keep realizing that there's a lot of stereotypical, the cholo or whatever, the gangster, the very typical way that or stereotypical way of representation, and there's not really anything deeper than that, if that makes sense. Yeah, they're really like, in terms of recent, like, not even main characters. Detroit Become Human had what's his name? Oh god.
Oh, from Grey's Anatomy.
What's his name? Forgot his name.
Are you talking about Marcus?
Yeah, Marcus.
Yeah.
There you go. I had Marcus, and like, his whole story was basically trying to get the robots to be,
Yeah.
treated the same way as everyone else. Like, and yeah, there's really a lack of representation, but also we are seeing representation daily, in our day-to-day lives, that we can talk about.
Yeah.
And well, game developers can make.
Yeah. I think one of the things that really stands out is there's this might come out in the wrong way, but I will explain myself so it doesn't sound as bad. But I feel like there's not a lack of representation. There's an abundance of misrepresentation. So like you'll pick up a video game and there'll be a person of color in that game, but rather than focusing on that story and telling that person's tale, they just stick to the stereotype and misrepresent that person. It's just sad to be able to get past that now.
Oh yeah, but no, it's like also with the whole trans representation for like Cyberpunk as well.
And there's so many like not even charities, but organizations out there that their whole sole purpose is to be referred to when it comes to representation. So if you're looking at doing a trans character, there are organizations out there that you can speak to and go, hey, look, we're wanting to do this. What is the best way for us to do that? Like, how do we tell these stories, or how do we get this so that it doesn't come across as offensive? Do you know what I mean? There's people out there that are willing to have these conversations and steer people in the right direction. It's just like like Adam says in this whole article, it's just, for some reason, the majority of these companies just taking the world around them, taking the stories that they want to tell, and just diluting it down into this one version of events, which is supposedly there to make them money and make the game more sellable. Which I think we're past that now. I think it's
well, yeah. I mean, no, but as in, yeah, that.
It's an antiquated thought process. Cool. Well, I think.
Oh, but let me before we end this. Let me mention here are some like black game developer games that would be great to support, so they can make even more. You know, so voices can be heard and stuff, because it is very expensive to make games, and it would be great if all of you would, you know, add it to your Steam wish list, Nintendo wish list, because that helps a lot for the game to be shown on like the Steam store or anything. There's a game called She Dreams Elsewhere, which is kind of like Undertale, but more realistic, if that makes sense. Swim Sanity, if you want a co-op game with your friends. I think it's on Nintendo Switch and Steam. It's just fun chaos where you're just swimming basically and trying to defeat bosses and stuff. Chrono Ghost is a puzzle game as well. Chrono Ghost, which is kind of like inspired by Ori. The art style is kind of similar to Ori, where you kind of like manipulate time and stuff. And then there's Treachery in Beatdown City, which if any of you have played River City Girls, it's pretty similar to that, or Double Dragon as well. It's pretty similar to that, but it's like it really it's like I don't know how I would describe it, like a beat 'em up turn-based game.
Turn-based beat 'em up?
Yeah, turn-based beat 'em up, but that you can actually like move the character like as if you're playing like in Double Dragon or River City Girls. But you have like options to choose from. I don't know. It looks really fun. And you should all check it out. She Dreams Elsewhere, Swim Sanity, Chrono Ghost, Treachery and Beatdown City. Put them on your wish list.
Go wish list them. Go check them out. Go pick them up.
Yeah, play them.
Support these developers.
Buy them. Support the indie developers, and you know, because they really need it.
Do indeed. And as a little bit of a plug as well, make sure you head over to our Instagram to catch out all these posts. Like I said, we are going to be celebrating these people. But on top of that, it's not just enough to celebrate. We've also linked in articles, thought pieces, programs, all other stuff to help educate and bring forward this information. So don't understand it or don't know much about it, that's fine. There's things out there to help educate, get you up to things. One of the things that we put was Channel 4 documentary, The School That Tried to End Racism. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you'd be able to get it in the States, but it's really good. They deal with unconscious bias and racism. So things that you do in your day-to-day lives where you may not knowingly make a choice or a thought process that leads to racism. And they do it with these kids, and it's a great program because there was stuff in there that these kids were doing that they had no clue it was racist, because it's just one of those things. They talk about a lot of difficult situations and different situations that especially kids or even as adults talk about. These things can be very difficult, but they show it in a way that's like, hey, if you've got questions, it's okay to have questions, but this is the way to approach it. Like, this is the way to open these up conversations. So definitely go and check all those.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah. Out this week, as we wrap things up, I could only find one game. I'm sure this is wrong. There's probably about 1,000 other games coming out on Steam or something. But Shattered Tale of the Forgotten King. That feels like a mood. I feel like Shattered Tale of Forgotten King all the time.
I looked it up and I was like, what is this game? And then I looked it up and it's a Souls-like game.
Yep.
So
you can be
I
buying
might
it,
check
yeah?
it out. Yep, more than likely.
So that comes
More
out.
than likely checking it out.
Yeah, that comes out on PC on the 17th of this month. And yeah,
Early access.
is it early access for that?
Yeah.
That's cool. Like I said, you can always find us on social media at Gaymers Assemble, so over on the Twitters and the Instagrams. And you can always write in as well. So if you're enjoying the show, has got any news stories, anything else, or the normal podcast, you can send us an email right into gamersassemble@gmail.com. GAYMERS, gay, and assemble spelled normally because we couldn't make that gay. And make sure you hit the follow, subscribe on our Twitch and YouTube channels. And you can always get us on podcast services around the globe. Not here though, not this show. This show's not on a podcast. This is only on the keep up on top of this. You need to go to YouTube. Anything else you want to add into today's little roundup, Sif?
I do not.
No?
I am.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
we shall be back on Sunday with the next episode. We're talking about whether player sexual is good enough when it comes to LGBTQIA plus representation in video games. That's going to be recorded very live and very much on Twitch, so make sure you that. It's going to be headed up with Dotted Llama herself. So that. But for now, I have been the Beardy Gaymer. This has been Sif. Say goodnight, Sif.
Night, Sif.
And good night from me. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. Bye.